Hi everyone and welcome to our WD-TV newsroom where we bring you all of your Wes-Del news and stories. I'm your anchor, Corbin Zvokel.
And I'm your co-anchor, Peyton Green. We got another busy week ahead of us, so we are going straight to our sport reporters for your athletic news. Here's Brady and Isaac.
Thank you, Peyton. We have so many games and meets this week. Starting tonight, varsity track has a home meet against Alexandria and Delville. And the same day, our golf boys have a meet at home at 4:30 against Delta. Also tonight, there's a JV baseball game at 4:45 and varsity plays right after at Blackford. Tomorrow, there's a varsity baseball game at Delta at 5 p.m. and track meet at LaPel against LaPel and Liberty Christian at 5 p.m.
On April 13th, there's a golf meet at 4:30 at Shenandoah and a home baseball game at 5 p.m. against Union. On April 14th, junior varsity baseball has a game at 5 p.m. at Jay County, and there is a home meet for track against Union and Delville at 5 p.m. And finally, on April 16th, there's a varsity away game at Blue River at 5 p.m.
There are so many meets and games going on this week, so please come out and support your fellow classmates. Back to you, Corbin.
Thank you, Brady. We've had a rocky week with our Indiana weather, so here's James with hopefully some good news about this week's weather.
Your weather for this week, it'll suck. We're looking at wind, snow, rain, all of it, all in 1 week. That's your weather. Back to you.
Thank you, James. Now here are your announcements for the rest of this week. Today and tomorrow we'll be having our Fine Arts Fair starting at 10:15 and lasting through Pride Time. There will be a collection of art displayed, drama skits, color and winter guard, a performance from the band, and a performance by Mrs. Meyer Fisher's Fine Arts class.
Camp Adventure for the 7th graders is this Thursday. The Bio AP class is taking a field trip to the zoo this Friday also. Attention seniors, please turn your baby pictures into Bailey Smith, Haley Cosgrove, or Miss Willard. Or turn your pictures at your senior meeting Friday during Pride. Also remember, senior ads are due April 29th along with the senior superlatives and senior clothes.
We have a special announcement from your yearbook staff. If anyone is interested in taking yearbook next year, please visit Mrs. Chambers' office to grab an application to fill out in order to be accepted into the class for next year. These applications are due May 4th to Mrs. Willard in C3.
This is all our announcements for your upcoming week here at Wes-Del. Now it's time for the interview of the teacher/staff member of the week. Your very own anchors interviewed Mr. Sims and asked him questions you as a school estimated.
We'll be right back. All right, Mr. Sims, how are you doing today?
Doing well.
Doing good. All right, I just have a couple questions from some students here at Wes-Del that they wanted to know some things about you, maybe get to know you a little better. All right, so what made you want to coach track? This is Trent Myring.
What made me want to coach track?
Yeah.
Well, my track coaching career started about 17 years ago, and I don't know that it was anything that I ever thought about doing at first. I was a baseball player in high school, and the school that I was teaching at the time needed a middle school track coach, and I was approached about doing it, and decided to give it a try, and it's something that I really enjoyed because it was an individual sport where I could see improvement and kid success, and I just kind of took off from there and kind of took on a life of its own as I continued to learn and got into it, and then elevated myself to coaching high school track and field. And then when I was hired here, one of the things that I agreed to do was to be the varsity track coach. And then a few years later, they reconfigured the coaching responsibilities, and I took on coaching both the boys and girls. And we've had a lot of success in our program. Had an opportunity to coach some really tremendous young men and women, and so it's kind of taken off from there.
So I know another person asked, so you didn't run track in high school then?
I did not.
All right, so someone wanted to know what your favorite type of music was.
Well, that's evolved also, kind of like my coaching career. It's kind of evolved. My music preferences transcend all different genres. When I was younger, I was really into rock and roll, classic rock and roll. I grew up in a really interesting time for that. I went through my hip-hop phase. I went through, when I was in college, the alternative music, the Seattle grunge type music was really popular when I was in college. Now as I've gotten older, my taste have changed. Probably more contemporary music, adult contemporary music. I've never, when I was younger, I was never really a big fan, but in recent times I've been kind of drawn towards country music, the new country music. So my musical taste kind of transcend across all different
types
of music.
I got you. So we had a lot of people really want to know, why did you choose history as your subject to teach?
Well, history is another one of those things that kind of there covers a lot of different areas. I don't think it was necessarily just history, but I found myself kind of drawn to the humanities and the social sciences, psychology and sociology, as well as history and government and economics. I think I like those subjects because they're a lot more subjective. They are they allow you to form your own opinions. I also like the research aspect of it when I was in school. It's not something that I was extremely interested in when I was a kid, but as my education kind of evolved, I found myself drawn to it, and it's just and I think I think that's a phenomenon that is been kind of perpetuated in popular media even. When you look at the popularity of a lot of these reality TV shows and a lot of the there's a whole popular culture and media based off the whole aspect of history. If you look at the interest that people have in politics and the economy today, I think it's just kind of I don't want to say I was a trendsetter or ahead of the game, but I think it's interesting. And there's a niche for everyone. Everyone's got something that they enjoy, everyone's got something that they like to do, and they have their interests, and there's always a history to that. And so that's kind of what drew me to history.
Okay, so within your history class, what do you think your favorite unit to teach is, or historical event?
I don't know that I have a favorite one, but I say that I even tell the students this, my favorite things to teach are things that have happened in what I call modern times. I'd say from the 19th century on, and the reason that I like to teach those things is because we have so much authentic evidence of those things, so many primary resources. With the advent of technology, we've got photography and videography, and there are people who are still alive who've lived through that. So I enjoy things that have happened in what I consider to be modern times, whether those be the world wars, the economic challenges we had, like the Depression, the Gilded Age, the Industrial Revolution, the Cold War, those kinds of things I enjoy teaching just because of all of the primary sources we have to be able to use to. So it's difficult to visualize things that happened in antiquity. It's very easy for us to be able to visualize and conceptualize things that have happened in modern times.
Yeah. So if you weren't a teacher, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
That's a great question. I don't know. I've never really seen myself doing anything other than teaching school. I think about that some. I'm not one, I don't have an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm not a huge risk taker when it comes to financial things. So, you know, my father was owned his own business growing up, and I've seen the good things and the bad sides to that, and the stress and it's involved in that. So I don't know that I would that I have anything else that I'd rather do other than teach. I could see myself maybe in industry, maybe public relations, maybe marketing, sales, something like that.
Stand-up comedy?
Yeah, that was always something that when I was younger, I actually thought about doing was I wanted to be a radio personality. I always thought about that. I always liked being on the radio. I like all different kinds of music. I'm into politics and history, and I always thought being a radio personality would be kind of a fun career, but nothing that I really pursued seriously.
Gotcha. Someone wanted to know if you thought Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the greatest movie of all time.
No, I don't. I think it's a great comedy, but it's not the greatest movie of all time. Monty Python was a pretty special group of comedians. It's British comedy. It's unique. I do enjoy those movies, but not the greatest movies of all time. I enjoy the Star Wars trilogies. I enjoy. I like historical fiction. Most history teachers are not a fan of revisionist history, but knowing that I'm pretty confident about my history and I do my research, I do enjoy things that have a historical aspect to them. You know, for example, Forrest Gump. That's a great movie. It takes you through history, all the different things that would have happened to somebody. Things like that. I don't have a favorite movie. And again, movies are kind of like my taste in music, where I enjoy all different kinds.
You mentioned Star Wars. Do you think you have a favorite Star Wars movie?
I like the original three.
Yeah. Most people would probably say that, especially people that lived around that time.
Right, because I was alive when all of those came out, and I was right there in the whole phenomenon with that, with the marketing and the popular culture that surrounded that. So I'm partial to that.
All right, and then one last thing. We had two students that wanted a blah, blah, blah. Could you give them that?
No.
Nope, I didn't think so.
Not
they don't
because
deserve
it's
it.
no.
That's great. Thank you.
That's all for your WDTV News today. We'll see you next week with your weekly update.